Hi, everybody. My name is Darren Ryder, and I'll be your trip coordinator for the 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip this school year. And we're going to go through some information that kind of walks everybody through kind of our final trip plans, what to expect, flights, all that kind of stuff. Our goal is that by the end of this video, we have everything figured out. There's not a lot of questions. Well, we'll still have questions with the government shutdown for sure. We'll get there too. But hopefully, it kind of alleviates some fear that people may have, answers those final questions, gets everybody kind of set with everything. So we'll get started, but feel free to please reach out with any questions you have at the end, and we'll make sure you answer those so we get everybody on the same page for the trip. So again, my name is Darren Ryder. You're going to be receiving this message, and if you're watching this video, you got it. That's all you need to do. But what we have is we're going through and we're kind of going to walk through this document right here, and you'll have access to this document. To me, it's a good idea to print it out, kind of take notes, just so, because it's going to be kind of like getting a drink through a fire hydrant, right? Or from a fire hose. You're going to get a lot of information thrown at you in the next 25 minutes here. And so it's not a bad idea. Print it out, take notes on it. Let me know what questions you have. All right, we'll get started. So again, my name is Darren Ryder. Now, I no longer teach at Cottage Grove Middle School. I'm at Sawashko Online now, so I'm still in the district. But I've been running the trip for over 20 years. I think this is going to be my 26th or 27th trip going total. So we have a lot of experience, and so do our chaperones. And so I want to go and jump ahead to our chaperones right away. And so I go, myself, Mr. Bauman, Mr. Foss, Miss Nelson, Mr. Pfeiffer, Mr. Qualley. That's our chaperone team for this year. And so we're going through. Mr. Foss will be coming in on Thursday, out late Friday. So he's not going to be there the whole time with us. He has some family stuff. I guess his kids are pretty good at football or something. So he has game Wednesday night for Hastings. And then he has a game. His oldest son plays college on Saturday. So we're going to try to make sure that he can see his own kids play a little bit too. So he's coming out with us, but he'll be a little bit shorter time than the rest of us. And so that's our chaperone team. And to be honest, like, this is one of the most experienced chaperone teams that you'll ever find on any trip. We've all had double-digit years going. Like I said, I'm in the high 20s. Bauman's, probably in that range. Foss is probably 15 to 18. Nelly, all of us. So there's good experience on the team. And like the way we set up the trip and the way I organize the trip, like safety and behavior are kind of two of the big things for us, just making sure kids are safe and doing the right things. And I honestly wouldn't do this trip without these people. So the students that are going on the trip with us, you are in great hands. Our chaperone team is outstanding, and they have seen and had to deal with almost everything. And so they're really good at it, and that's why we continue to do it too. So here's what we have them. The link for this video will be right here. It'll be on there for you. If, like I said, though, if you're in the video, you have it already. Tour Central, this is the number 4 World Stride. So if there's an emergency, I'm going to give you, I have my cell phone up here. I always say I'm faster than Tour Central. That's like going through the middle person to get to me. So if there's something that you really need to know, or if there's an emergency, everybody on this trip has my number. And in fact, students, you should probably get my number into your phone also. That way, there's no confusion. If something does happen and somebody needs me right away, we don't have to look for the number, it's there. And Tour Central, that number's there for you though. That's also good for emergencies. I always just say use that for emergency purposes only. Don't use it to say like, hey, your little brother had a game tonight and they did great. That's not what that one is for, right? That's awesome that they did great though. And we're happy for them, but that's not what that one is for. And so Tour Central is there for true emergencies. But to ease people's fears, I give my cell phone number because I'm going to be quicker than Tour Central on handling that stuff. I also put my number on there, like parents, guardians, if you are seeing something, hearing something, concerned about something at home and we're in DC, give me a heads up. Gives me something to look for. Is there trouble with roommates? Is there something that's taking away from the happiness of a kid on the trip? Whatever it is, let us know that stuff. We try to make sure it's a worthy thing, like just making sure that we're not dealing with 100 text messages like that a day. But when needed, definitely reach out and let me know. So that's my number and Tour Central. So those are your two most important numbers. Our hotel we stay at is this Westin Tyson's Corner. So that's this one right here. So as you're going through, we've used this hotel for years and years and years. Great hotel for our group. There's certain things I love about it, certain things I don't like about it, but it really works well for our group. The one thing the students really like about it is it does have a Starbucks for the morning. So yes, you can have it. No, we can't bring that stuff on the bus because Leroy, our bus driver, who we'll talk about shortly, does not allow those on there. So you just have to make sure if you're going to spend that money, make sure you have it done by the time we enter on the bus. Okay, so that is our hotel. We'll talk about roommates in a little bit, but we have 4 people to a room. And then there is some exceptions with people that only have 3, things like that. But for the most part, 4. But this has been a great location for us for a number of years for our DC trips. Okay, so that's what we have there. Our flight information. So we fly out next Wednesday on the 15th. And so our first leg of our flight is from MSP to Denver, 3:45 to 4:45. I am not sure why we would possibly go to Denver, but that is where our connection is before we head into DC at BWI. Now you'll notice that on that Wednesday, we fly out at 3:45. So I put it down a little bit too right here, where I put the departure on Wednesday, October 15th. We do fly out of Terminal 2. And so what will happen is they move us because we're a group check-in. They move us to different places in the airport. So we will be there early. Our chaperone team will be there early. We'll be there by about 1:30. And we'll get set up with the people. They'll tell us exactly where they want us. And so as you come in the main doors, we love Terminal 2. It's way easier. As you come in those main doors, we'll guide you. Find your chaperones. Find Mr. Bauman. Find Mr. Qualley. Find Miss Pfeiffer. Find Miss Nelson. Find myself. Find one of us, and we'll get you in that right direction. So what happens there is you come in, we check off each student. Once we have them all, that's when we start moving through security and going through TSA towards our flight. Okay, so we put on here, meet at 1:45. That's where we'll do our group check-in. If you're running late, just please let us know. You have my cell phone number. Say, hey, we're 15 minutes out. That helps me organize my chaperone team to make sure that we can move and leave a chaperone back, get that one student or whatever it is, and then we can move through that area safely. So just if you are going to be super late like that, just please let us know. So we'll be there at 1:45, and like I said, we're going to Terminal 2. Okay, we'll get you in that front door, and then we'll move them from there. Now, what happens at that point, like I put up here, like the airplane seats, we're not able to switch seats. At this time, we're at the mercy of the airlines. And so this is the only time on the trip that we don't have any control. Like I do a lot working with them, getting everything set up, but they have control of where we sit, who's going where, stuff like that. Students do not switch seats. Because that just, number one, there's a lot of business travelers. There may not be on that flight just because it's a little later in the afternoon, but typically there's a lot of business travelers and they get a little nervous when they see 70 students coming on that are middle schoolers. And so we just have a couple rules that we go by. We say don't switch seats. They're randomly assigned by the airlines. That's the seat we get. We get what we get. Okay? Then we have a couple kind of just rules for the airport. Some of them students will like, some of them students will not like. The buddy one you may not like. We deal with it, but we may not like it. All right, so here's what happens then. So one of the things that we ask is you don't talk over the seats. Okay, and so that's just a way to be respectful for the people that are on that flight. Just don't talk over the seats. We don't want to see, if I'm sitting in the back of the plane, I don't want to see your face talking to somebody 4 rows behind you, because that's interrupting the travel of the other people. So that's one place that we just make sure, hey, no talking over seats. You stay in your assigned seat. Once we are off that plane, you can talk to these people as much as you want for the next 4 days while we're on the trip. But that plane, we just make sure we stay in the assigned seat and we do things right. Couple things to remember I put right here is you have to be very careful. And I understand that we're in middle school. I get that. But bomb jokes and comments are not funny. Well, they might be, but TSA does not think they are. And so they kind of trump our power on that. So just make sure we're using common sense on that. Now, one problem that we typically have is And parents and guardians, if you can help us with that, making sure that students understand they can't have that water going through TSA or through security. They get pretty angry at that because there's enough signs and they say it enough times. So even if you have your water bottle in a Stanley, whatever it is, it cannot have water in it. Okay, so just make sure that we take care of that. And parents and guardians, like we said, if you could help with that, help us with that, that would be awesome. Now, parents, you are not able to come through security, unfortunately. So what happens is we get our whole group there. As soon as we get everybody checked in, I will say, like, all right, parents, students, guardians, like, it is time. We're going to start moving. Get your final goodbyes in there. Students, come on. They get to hug you. They get to tell you they love you. They get to tell you they're going to miss you. They get to tell you all of that. Why? Because you're leaving for a couple days or halfway across the country. So they at least get that. And in fact, I know some parents will ask, like, do we just drop them off and leave? I say stay until we tell you. That would personally, that's what I'd want to do. I want to be there. I want to get that last hug in. I want to be able to embarrass them a little bit, tell them I love them, and you'll be surprised. They'll actually say it back a lot of times. No pressure, kids, but they'll actually say it back. So we'll tell you then, hey, it's time for us to go. You get those last goodbyes, and then we go through security. But parents are not able to come with us through security there. The one that I said you may not like is this always travel in pairs. Now, this is even to the bathroom. So here's a typical scenario. We get through security. One of the first things we tell students is, all right, now we're going to get up here and we're going to go to the bathroom. And all of a sudden we'll see somebody walking by themselves to the bathroom. We'll be like, hey, where are we going? They'll be like, to the bathroom. And we'll be like, where's your buddy? And they'll be like, I'm going to the bathroom. And we'll be like, yeah, with the buddy. That is a safety precaution. Now, I always kind of giggle because I will walk into the bathrooms myself and I will see the buddy standing awkwardly against the wall a lot of times waiting for the other person. Thank you. That's what we do. It's a safety issue, right? Safety is our number one concern on the trip, so we want to make sure that we're safe in all aspects, even in the bathroom. So if you are going, yes, you need a bathroom buddy. If you're going to get food in some of the different food courts, things like that, you always have a buddy with you, okay? So just make sure that we're clear on that. We covered the departure on October 15th. The return on October 19th, we return to Terminal 2. That flight information is up here again. We will meet near the baggage claim. Definitely celebrate. Bring flowers, balloons, signs. Hey, you've missed them. They've been gone for 3-4 days. Let's hope you missed them. The hope is that you miss them. And so they've been gone 3-4 days. So just making sure that we celebrate them coming home is awesome. Please be on time. I always feel terrible if a student comes home and a parent guardian is not there for them and they kind of, it's just an uncomfortable situation for them sometimes. So we try to avoid that if at all possible. And we try to get that celebration in. Number one, because it embarrasses them. But number two, they're actually really happy to see you by the end too. And we have that extra night this year. So that's going to be a little bit different too, which means, in my opinion, it means they're really going to want to be home by the end because typically 3 nights is enough. This one was 4. Part of that, and thank you for dealing with that change, but here's what happened on that. So WorldStride called me and they said, we're having a really hard time returning you on Saturday night. Would you be willing to stay, that extra night and we'll take care of you and do a couple extra things for your group while you're there and stuff. Now, typically I would have said no, but 2 years ago we actually had an issue trying to come home on a Saturday night and it was a disaster. It worked out well, but if I did not have the chaperones I had, it wouldn't have been great and I wouldn't have loved it. And so, number one, that's part of why we take our chaperones, but number two, that's part of why we decided and agreed that we would come home on that Sunday. Just for the simple fact is, if there is any problem with that flight on Sunday morning, we know we're still getting home that day. And we have a lot of daylight and time to figure things out, where if we fly home at 10 at night, we don't have many flight options, if something goes wrong. And so thank you for being patient with me on that. If people were worried about why that change was made, that's exactly why it was made. We could have got home Saturday. I did not like the process that we had to go through before. So just for safety issues and just the ease, we stayed that extra night. So The students had, with no extra charge, you're paying enough already, but with no extra charge, get a couple more things, and it allows us to do a couple more things that I'm working with World Strides with too, that should be good for the trip. So fingers crossed it works out all right, but thank you for your patience on that. Now, baggage, big thing is parents, guardians, if you could help them pack, that would be huge. Now, I put this TSA website on here too and talking about the baggage. The big thing is that 3.4 ounces of liquid. Now, we talked about the water bottles before, but we're talking about perfumes, things like that. I hate to see somebody go spend 50 bucks on a bottle of cologne or perfume and that gets taken away because it's too big at TSA. Now, if you have questions on all that stuff, I put it right here for you. Okay, and so we have those on there. Now, we only do carry-ons. Okay, now when we talk about the airlines, American Airlines will charge $40, Southwest won't charge. We avoid all of that by saying just do a carry-on. Let's not check luggage. Now, here's what will happen typically though, is when you have all these 70 students coming through with their luggage, sometimes they will ask us, would you like to check your luggage? And they will have us do it for free. If they want us to do it, we will do it for sure, 100%. Free, yes. Will we pay $40 a bag to do it? No. If your student really, truly wants to and you feel like they need to do that, go ahead. But understand you are slowing up our whole process going through the airport too. Not that it's a huge deal. We can definitely deal with it. And if it's for medical reasons, absolutely do it. But we try to stay in that carry-on. We're only going for 4 days, so we try to stay in that carry-on kind of range just to help our speed of travel. But like I said, if they are asking us to, we will load up all of our bags and check them. As long as they have the time, they have the correct amount of people there to help us, and it's not going to inconvenience our group, we'll do it for sure because it actually sometimes will help our group, especially when we have layovers too. Now, for that travel, we will have a final meeting just with the students on Friday, October 10th during advisory. At that time, they're going to be getting a lot of things. They're going to be getting some general DC, like a book that they send to us every year that I definitely don't want. You probably won't either, but they're going to get it anyway just so it's out of my house. They'll also get a couple luggage tags. One should go on their carry-on item. If they have another small bag too, that's not a bad idea to put it on there. All you have to put on there, if for group, you just have to put CGMS. Now, if everybody will have the same color tag, if you just put CGMS in your name, we'll be sure to get that for them at that point. Okay? Now, for identification at the airport, because they're under the age of 18, they do not need an identification, any student ID or anything, knowing that they don't have a driver's license or anything like that. And so they do not need one. At that point, because they are a minor, we as chaperones are looked at as their guardians for that trip. And so as long as we have our IDs, we can kind of control that whole trip on that one. Now, the roommate selection, I have this highlighted right here, only because Mr. Foss has not given me access to one final list that I need to just add on there, but it will be on there by the time you watch this video. And so when you click on there, you're going to see the names of each student. Just double check that we have them with the right people in the right room. We did this without parents and guardians, and so hopefully you had a little input with your student, but the big thing is we want to make sure that they have made a good choice on that too, and so this is your chance to kind of double check their choice on it. And just making sure that it's going to work, we're not going to have issues. The big thing is for me, I want to be proactive, so if there's issues that we're going to face on the trip with our chaperone team, I'd rather know about them beforehand rather than after so that we can handle it and just make the trip smooth for everybody. Okay, so you will check that list. The rooms will be listed. Just make sure it's the right rooms for people. If there's any spelling, grammar errors, that's Mr. Foss's because he actually filled that form out, so we'll all blame him. And question why he's a language arts teacher and he can't spell your name too. Just give that a shot. It'll go over well. All right, the next one, medical forms. Now, we have everybody's medical form in, but sometimes that information changes in that 2 weeks between when you handed it in and now. If there is a change, absolutely, let us know. because we need to know that information. If there's no change and your student is good, we're good there. But what happens is I have the medical forms now. I go through all of the information on them. Now, when we get, then I accumulate a list and come up with this list that has all meds, what people need, anything that we need to be aware of, things to look for, stuff like that. I share that with our chaperone team. Then what we have is Mrs. Pfeiffer takes care of a lot of our med stuff. If your student is a person who has to take medications, and you feel like you can trust that student, all we need to know is this is the list of what they're taking, this is when they take it, they'll handle it themselves. Then what Mrs. Pfeiffer does is she just goes around each day and like, hey, did you take your med for this? Did you take your med? She just confirms that those are taken and we're good. If you have a student that maybe you want to make sure they're taking their medications, then we, Mrs. Pfeiffer, myself, different chaperones, we make sure that those get handed out each morning and then those are taken. So however you best want to handle that, definitely, it's up to you. But just make sure that we're on the same page. If they're keeping their own meds, that's good. If they need assistance and you want us to help with that, that's okay too. We just got to be on the same page on that. So if you are a person that wants us to present the meds each day, probably a great idea to let me know that beforehand so that I can work with our chaperone team and we're all on the same page there. But be as clear on those med forms as possible. The more information we have when needed is great. Okay. Now for our itinerary, what we have is I put this up here for a rough idea of what you're going to see, and what it is just this right here. Okay, Wednesday we travel, Thursday, these are the big things that we're doing. And when I say big things, that just means these are the things that we have appointments for. Okay, so we have these items here, Thursday. Friday, we have these. Saturday, Ford's Holocaust Capitol. Now, on the in-between on all of this is when we're going to, different places. We're going to MLK. We're going to Jefferson. We're going to the Washington Monument. We're going all over the place. White House. We're going everywhere. Like the easiest way I can tell you, the easiest way I can describe the itinerary, we are going to see as much as we possibly can. Now, I'm saying that knowing that some of you are going, well, how much are you going to be able to see because there's a government shutdown? Now, we have dealt with this a couple times, unfortunately, in the last 20-some years that I've been going on this trip, and it has worked out honestly. Like, am I worried about it? Absolutely. We're bringing 70 students halfway across the country going to Washington, D.C. Now, am I as worried about it as most of you? Probably not. Here's why. I've been in Washington, D.C. while it's been closed down with a tour group, and it actually worked out pretty well. Now, once you get to the serious parts of the shutdown, it gets a little dicey of where we can go. But what happens typically, if it's monuments, memorials, stuff like that, they'll have the barricades out. People just walk around them. It's not like we're breaking the law. We're with tour guides. We're legal. We're doing all of the things that we're supposed to. We can see almost everything that we normally would. Now, saying that, once you start closing Smithsonian's, things like that, because say we had, just from our perspective, let's just say I had 2 hours set for Smithsonian's, going to natural history and whatever, okay? If those are closed, that's 2 hours that we have to fill. Here's the one thing I tell you is I work with my account rep very closely. I work with my tour guides very closely. And we're in contact even now every day just saying, okay, what is the best thing on this day when we have this? Should we go here, here, here? Like half the reason, I'd say 90% of the reason I travel with World Strides, I know everything is taken care of to the best of their ability. And I'm pretty convinced of that over the last 20-some years that we've been with them. And so they have been great through just about everything for us. And I don't expect it to be anything different. Now, even if, let's just go worst case scenario, full shutdown, the students would still be able to see enough, more than enough, to make it more than worthwhile. And that's something that we talk about with our chaperone team too, right? Like, hey, would we cancel? What would we do in situations like this? luckily we didn't cancel the couple years that we've had to deal with this, and that the trips have been great. So if you, hopefully I cover that. Like, some people will have more questions on that for sure. Feel free, reach out, let me know. I'll tell you what I know. Like, I'm an open book, so I'll tell you exactly what they tell me is happening, what's happening, what changes we're going to have to make, and all of that stuff too. So some of you will be like, hey, we trust you, you got this. I get that, much appreciated. Others are like, wait, I really want to know. I get that too, for sure, and I would want to know the exact same. So just trust, like, I will, as I get updates from World Strides, things like that, as the trip is going, you may get updates from me like, hey, I just talked to World Strides, this is changing. If it's not a major change, you won't hear it, but if it is major changes, you would definitely hear that stuff from me. So that would be coming out, during this week. But hopefully, let's have things figured out by this time. Will that happen? Nobody knows exactly, right? So we watch the news just like everybody else watches the news, and we try to figure it out the same way that you do too. But what I do know is that we can handle, if it is in the shutdown, like, there's still a lot of value here. So that's the key. Hopefully that makes some of you feel better. But if you need more of an explanation, like I said, definitely let me know. All right, so that's a rough idea of what we'll see every day. Now we want to talk about some things on the trip. So food is a huge concern for a lot of students on the trip. So here's what a typical day looks like. Food, we start, breakfast, we start in the morning at the hotel. Now they will have a little bit of everything. They'll have some, pastries, they'll have some fruit, they'll have some cereal, they'll have either like eggs, waffles, bacon, sausage. Like, there's a whole variety of stuff that they have there. And so that's breakfast. The one thing that we do ask is that every student eats something. Okay, I know some students will say like, hey, I don't eat breakfast, but the thing is that we're moving so much during the day, we need to make sure that you have the proper nutrition too. Otherwise, in the past, we've had students get sick. And the first question we ask is, did you eat? Well, no, I didn't. Well, you need to, okay? Because you're going to be burning so much energy going through there. We want to make sure that you have that energy to burn, right? And so breakfast is at the hotel. Lunch is usually done with the card. And so what will happen is we'll go into a place, whether it's the Reagan Center, whatever it is. Say it's the Reagan Center. We'll go in, I give you a card. It may have 12 to 16 different restaurants on there. And it'll have your options for each restaurant, whether it's a pizza place, Subway, Chinese, whatever it is. Okay? You get to choose whatever's on that card. You'll go right to that store. Now, sometimes those cards will say like, hey, there's a Chick-fil-A on this card, but that location doesn't have it. So we try to pre-warn you on that, but just know that sometimes that does happen too. Now, our dinners then typically are usually at a sit-down, or we go to this place called Primo's, which is family style, which is awesome. You sit at your table and they bring out huge amounts of pizza, chicken, salad, just a whole bunch of everything, and chocolate chip cookies that are outstanding. You'll love them. Okay, so that's usually kind of our plans for dinner. So we usually go breakfast at hotel. Lunch is kind of on the move with the ticket, and then dinners are usually a sit down quick, not a 2-hour dinner, but usually a sit down where we get something and we eat as the group. So hopefully that explains kind of the food stuff. Now, spending money, this is the part I say, and then students are like, why did you tell my parents that? But here's my golden rule on this. Whatever you give them, they're going to spend. So if you give him $500, we've had a kid spend $500 at the first place that we went to on the trip. Now, he bought awesome books, great books, mostly history books too, so I wasn't that upset. But I did make sure, I was like, are you sure people at home know you're spending this money? They're like, yep, they gave it to me. We did double check. Yep, they had permission. They did get awesome stuff. But just know, whatever you give them, they're going to spend. Now, personally, if I had a student going on the trip, here's what I would give them. I would give them $50 or $100 total cash. That's it. Maybe even a card, so they couldn't even lose the cash. Just one of the Visa cards, whatever it is. And here's why. There's nothing on this trip that they need to spend. You have spent enough money already. Everything is covered. There's not one thing on this trip that they need another dollar for. But like we said, they're going to spend it. So whatever you give them, they're going to spend on Starbucks. They're going to spend on water. They're going to spend on snacks that they don't need because we're going to eat more than they want to. Okay? And so just know, I wouldn't necessarily give them much more. Like my absolute limit would be $100. Give them money, buy their. We'll go to a souvenir shop. We get them the best, cheapest. We try to get them the cheapest souvenirs we can from that souvenir shop, and so they're gonna buy their sweatshirts, their hats, their stuff like that. Is that stuff high quality? Not always. Is it something that they definitely want? For sure. And I don't blame them. Like, it's pretty cool when they all have their Washington, D.C. hats or sweatshirts on. But just know I wouldn't be spending $300 to $400 on that. Okay. So if you want to purchase items, there's gift shops everywhere. Like every place we go has gift shops. And so you always can find things. I would say don't typically buy off the street vendors only because one, we're not stopping as a whole group, and two, they don't always have the best deals. We'll get you to the place that sells to all the street vendors, and so we'll hopefully get you the absolute best price that you can in DC. Okay. Hopefully that helps. I did say earlier there is a Starbucks in our hotel. Just make sure on the coach buses, though, our bus driver is Leroy. You're going to see when we walk up, you're going to see Leroy hugging all of our chaperones. Leroy's part of our DC family. He has been driving with us for a long, long time. We don't get to have Leroy and his the driving partner every year, but when we do, we know it's going to be great. Students, you will absolutely love Leroy, but he does have some rules on the bus, like no gum, because he doesn't want his bus trashed. No open tops as far as like coffees. He does let you bring bottles that have tops that you can close, things like that. But one of the things that we do is we try to leave that bus better than when we got on it. And so we do ask that people clean every night. And once you get to know Leroy, you'll see why. And a lot of you will probably want to clean too to help him because Leroy is one of the greatest people out there. So hopefully that helps. Now, I did put on here and I didn't mention, I started talking about Leroy, but this one, the no laser pointers, the belt buckles, the little zappy knives, all that kind of stuff, although funny, I'll give that to you, especially the zapping pen. The gum's my favorite, but it looks too fake. The zapping pen, hilarious, just not on our trip, please. The laser pointer can be hilarious, can also be dangerous though, so not on our trip. Snow globes, you're going to go in. Remember, that's liquid. Can't get it back on the plane unless we check our bags. And so if parents and guardians can kind of help prep us on that, that would be awesome. Now we're getting down to the finals, and this part goes pretty quick, I promise. So hopefully we have most of the information that we need, but there's a couple that we want to make sure that we have so we're all on the same page. Now cell phones, I would say definitely if they have access to one, to me it's a huge safety thing. When I know that they have a cell phone, if something happens to them, they have my number typed in that phone. It can be quick, makes their life easy, makes my life easy, makes all of the chaperones' life easy. I would say awesome if they have one. There was a time when we used to say no cell phones on the trip because it was just too much of a hassle. But here's our expectations. When you have a tour guide speaking with you, you treat it kind of like you're in school a little bit. If somebody's speaking to you about something that's important, it's just kind of respectful to put the cell phone down and listen, right? So we just expect the same. When our tour guides are talking, and trust me, these tour guides are going to talk way more than you want, way more than I want. You think I'm listening half the time? Nope. What I'm doing half the time is I'm sitting there looking at them, but my mind is blank because my mind is full for the day. That's better than looking at my cell phone and just typing stuff out, right? I'm just trying to be respectful. Plus, I am picking up some of the stuff that they're telling me. Now, you may see me doing that, but I've also heard it 20 some times, so I probably know a lot of it by now too. And so we just ask, be respectful. When those guides, when our chaperones are talking, bus drivers, whoever it is, make sure those cell phones are away, please. Okay? Also making sure that we're respectful and listening. Now, we do go through a lot of monuments and memorials. Now, before each one, we kind of walk you through like the difference between a monument and a memorial. And you have to remember that we might be at some places that are what are called living memorials, which means like Vietnam Wall. You might be seeing the Vietnam Wall. There might be Vietnam veterans that fought in the war there to see the wall for the first time. And so there's a lot of emotions that go with that. And so one of the things that we try to do is try to prep the students. When we're at those places, we take hats off. We try to be respectful. We try to keep voices down. We just know that this is something that's in place for those people. the people that may be there at a live memorial, right? And so we just want to make sure that we're doing our best to be respectful and give those people that time too, because that might be the only time they ever have in their life to see that memorial for the war that they fought in. Okay, so just make sure we're good with that. The clothing piece, parents, guardians, I have you kind of gauge a lot of this. Like, we'll talk to the students on Friday and kind of say, like, hey, it looks like rain on 2 days, blah, 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 whatever it is. But you just kind of help them on that too. Um, Making sure that we have something for rain is always helpful. Now, it looks like we're okay for our the weather while we're there, but that's going to change in the next 10 to 12 days. So we just make sure that we keep watching it. We'll talk to them Friday. Just help them pack a little bit without going overboard. Speaking of packing, swimsuits, there is not a pool, so we are good there. I put on here behavior. We're taking people halfway across the country. We don't expect behavior problems. And if you remember me in the intro video when we were introducing the trip, one of the things I said is if you are somebody who doesn't like to listen, is kind of a pain sometimes, please don't come, right? Because we want it the best trip for everybody, so we just expect great behavior. Now, if we don't have it, what happens is we just to get people at home involved. And so we do a couple things like we're pretty good. The chaperones that we all have well over 20 years of middle school experience. So we're pretty well versed on how middle schoolers work. Now, if they're not cooperating with and meeting kind of the expectations that we have in place, then we do get the people at home involved. It's not a gotcha thing. It's just, hey, this is what we're talking about. These are our expectations. This is what's happening. This is what we're doing. And so just kind of get people involved. Now, it doesn't have to happen too often, but every once in a while it does. So don't completely panic if we call you. We're not bad people. We're just trying to get everybody on the same page. Now, getting everybody on the same page, security. So part of the reason we have the Tyson's Corner, and part of the reason we have the hotel we have is because we have security guards that come on the floor each night. And so this is for two reasons. One, the safety of our students, but also so our chaperones can get some sleep too. Because we have to be able to rest because we've got a full day just like the students the next day too. So we have chaperones that come on. We call it lockdown. What happens is roughly 9:30, 10 o'clock, whatever it is at night, we go into lockdown. That just means you're in your room for the night. Now, unless there is an emergency, we're not coming out of those rooms. Now, security is on the floor. The minute that room opens, security is there. Now, what happens at that point is security then comes and tells me, hey, these people are trying to leave their room. Now, we know what lockdown means, and we'll be very clear as we go through here. What that means is if we say lockdown at 9:45 and we get back to the hotel at 9:25, that means you have between 9:25 and 9:45 to go get ice, go get refreshments, go get stuff from the vending machines, go get whatever you need for the night. Because if lockdown's at 9:45, that door is closed then. If it opens, security comes, they let you know that was not okay, they come and let me know. And then what happens is in the morning, we let people at home know that what you were doing was not okay. And if it happens again, we're going to have to take you off of the trip. Okay? The safety and security of our students is our number one priority. When we're in that mode, that lockdown, everybody has my number. So if it's a true emergency, I can be to you within 20 seconds, right? Because I'm usually in the same hall as you or just down the hall from you. I'm not very far. The chaperone teams are not very far. Now, not having like an extra washcloth at 1 a.m, that is not an emergency, right? That's something that can wait. So just making sure that we're all on the same page on that, okay? Now, coach buses, like I was talking about Leroy before, coach buses are so nice. We'll travel in style. We just make sure that we take care of them. Please don't have food all over the place. Like, be very, very respectful as we're going through there. And you'll meet Leroy and the other driver, and you'll be like, yeah, we're going to do that. We got this. Now, if any of you need any of the rubbings from the Vietnam Wall, I put the link on here for you, but you could also let us know so that we can help your student. Send paper with them, send pencils, send all of that with them. There's some there too, and we'll get it for them if they don't have it. But the more you can prepare them with, like having those items and then telling them what wall it's on and what line, that's huge for us too. Frequent flyer miles, if you have those, we can get, as your student checks in at that front, because we'll push them towards the workers at the airport when we're checking in. They can give those numbers, the numbers for the frequent flyer right then, and they'll apply those to your account. Now, a couple final things on here. We're almost done, I promise. Couple final things. This is the whining policy. We are going to walk forever. One year we walked 32 miles. Like, not in a day. That's the whole trip. But 32 miles. The only person whining that trip, Mr. Dummer. You knew that. He was the whiner. That's why he can't come with us anymore. He said he can't make it anymore. Okay? So just know that we are going to travel a ton. We're going to be exhausted, but you are going to have the time of your life. In fact, I still see people that are in their 30s. They come up to me and they're like, Mr. Ryder, DC trip, still the best trip I've ever been on in my life. And that's why, even though, after all these years, our chaperones keep doing this because we love it and we know the value, is for the students in there. So it's awesome. Now, the pickup, we said check in with the chaperone once you're leaving the airport. It's as simple as this. All right, see you, Mr. Ryder. All right, have a good trip. It's just giving us that check like we saw you with somebody. Okay, and so like we said, please, parents, guardians, please be on time on that. Super helpful. And then just give us a quick wave on the way out. And usually the students are very ready to go home at that point too. Now, we do have some advice from Mr. Foss. Now, this is his advice. Simple. Stay to the right. Don't walk on the curb. Don't talk over your seat. And always have a buddy. Now, this is simple life, right? Stay to the right. All he's saying is we kind of have a universal agreement in the United States, not universal, but kind of an agreement in the United States. When you're walking at somebody, if you each go right, you're not going to run into each other. When you're walking down the sidewalk, if you each stay on the right-hand side, you're not going to walk into each other. So Mr. Foss is saying stay on the right. Don't walk on the curb. Those are not decorative. We don't want you to get hurt. We don't want you walking in the landscaping, and we don't want you walking in a curb that's 4 to 6 inches high that you could roll your ankle and ruin our trip for a little bit. So try to stay off of that. Stay on the sidewalk. So right, curb. Don't talk over your seat that's on the plane, and always have a buddy in the bathroom too. You'll do all right. All right. So that is the big things for our trip. Hopefully that helps everybody get an understanding of kind of what to expect, but please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions that you have. Students, if you have questions, we're going to meet Friday, October 10th, right at advisory. You're going to go to advisory, check in with your advisory teacher. We're going to meet real quick. We only have like 15 minutes, and we probably need at least 10. So get there as quickly as you can. We'll get that information handed out. We'll go through our final checks, and we are ready to travel. Let me know what questions you have. Otherwise, I look forward to the trip. Can't wait until we're ready to book and take off next week. Let's have a good one.